Hi, I'm Superintendent Darryll McCall from the Wachusett Regional School District. I'm here today at Glenwood Elementary School for the next edition of Wachusett Now. Today we'll be visiting with Principal Karen Cappucci, and we'll be touring Glenwood and walking around the building looking at all the wonderful learning spaces we have here. After that, we'll head over to Central Office where we'll meet Bob Berlo, the new Deputy Superintendent of the Wachusett Regional School District. I'm here with Principal Karen Cappucci at Glenwood Elementary School in Rutland. And Karen, this is a 3-5 building. You've been here for about 9 years,
yes.
And you've been the principal here for 2 years.
Yes.
So I'm really interested in knowing a little bit about your history. Why did you get into education in the first place?
Yeah, I come from a long line of teachers.
Yeah.
My mother is a kindergarten teacher, my aunts are teachers. I have a nephew who is now starting his teaching career in Arlington.
Wow.
So we have a long history of teaching and just a love of children. We love to see them reach their potential, to challenge them,
Yep.
to help them become who they're going to be.
Oh.
That's a huge plus.
And I know you have your own kids that will
I
have
do.
children
I
coming
do.
through the
I
Rutland
do.
schools as well, correct?
I do. I have been in the Wachusett district for 31 years.
Wow.
All of those years I've had children in the Wachusett schools, and I love the Wachusett schools. I'm highly invested in them. But the good news is I have grandchildren, and I have a granddaughter who will be in kindergarten this fall.
That's great.
So we're really excited, again, making this school something for the future, making sure that our future children get what our older children have gotten.
Good, yeah. Just to see them transition throughout the years, that must be a really nice process for you. In terms of what we're looking at in reference to the building, I know when this building originally opened 10 years ago, it was a K-5 building.
It was.
Because I was principal at Naquag Elementary School, and I had all of the Rutland kids in the school at the same time. So we had about 600 kids. It was great when Glenwood opened and we split in half, but the K-5 model only worked for a little while. And then we ran into the situation with the population really being skewed from one side of town to the other side of town. So we merged into a 3-5 model. How has that worked out? Because Glenwood is the only 3-5 school in the district.
Yeah, it's a great concept. It's a great idea. We have all the 3rd grade teachers in one pod, all the 4th grade teachers in another pod, and the 5th grade teachers all together. And it brings us cohesiveness, where all the teachers work together. They're working on the same themes, they're working on the same ideas, and together they come up with, like, the 3rd grade will be having their character bio pretty soon.
Right.
It's called the Wax Museum, where they'll walk through. And the whole pod will do that together, and they can have activities that go with that. The 5th grade did the invention conventions coming up. That's a huge thing. And they do that across all the grades do it together. And then the 4th grade had the big immigration simulation where they could all get together in the pod, and it works nicely because they share the activities and they share their teaching styles and the camaraderie that comes out of that. It works really nicely.
Well, it's great because every time we walk through the building, inevitably there are always 2 or 3 classrooms in one of the pods, just like the one out here, where they're working together, they're working on a common unit. So just giving teachers and kids the opportunity to work within the same grade level, but with other kids and other teachers. What a great opportunity.
And in a K-5 school, when they're kind of spread out, you can't always get all the teachers together. And this really, they become families. They really do become families. And getting them out of the pod is the hardest thing. Getting them to come down to the science lab, out of that pod where they love being together, it's the hardest thing to do. But we're working on that.
You just did a nice transition. We are actually in the science lab here at Glenwood. And you want to talk a little bit about this space and just how nice it is?
This space was designed with next generation science standards. So we're already preparing for the future. Next year, all of Massachusetts will be adopting the next generation science standards. And that is a big shift for teachers in all grades, right up through high school. So what we've started doing is, the assistant principal and I this summer came down and started moving the materials around so that we have what we need for grades 3, 4, and 5 to make that shift. So we're ready. We're ready for those standards to come in. And hands-on activities. We want kids getting their hands dirty, getting the kids involved in every activity that we have.
And you have another space across the hall called the Maker Space that you're going to be opening up in a few weeks.
The most exciting space. It is. It absolutely is. We're really excited about that. The Maker Space is completely different from a science lab. It's the STEAM technology. So what you will see in that Maker Space is students will be creating things using, hopefully, we've approached the PTO to get a laser cutter. So they'll be creating models. They'll be creating actual things that they can take home.
That's great.
to taking things apart, taking apart keyboards, radios, and finding out what works, how do they work, what gets them rolling, to sewing. They'll
So-
actually be sewing. It's hands-on
Hands-on,
activities
right.
from the design to the creation, and
Right.
that's right across the board. This actually came about. I have 5 teachers that have been selected out of top 10 teams in the state to go to the state and create
Yeah.
the STEAM technology for Massachusetts. Those 5 teachers are the reason we are creating a makerspace.
Yep, and you're very fortunate to have them because they've just brought a lot of hands-on science
Yeah.
and STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, into Glenwood.
Yeah.
We do have the program at Thomas Prince, and Glenwood has been just fantastic about really starting the program and getting it up and running for grades 3, 4, and 5. Now you also have, on top of the makerspace, you also have a computer lab, and you also use Chromebook carts throughout the district, or throughout the school. And you have
Yeah.
3 Chromebook carts
We
right
do.
now?
Thanks to the PTO and their hard work and their efforts, we have 3 Chrome carts, 1 for each
great.
grade level. And on any given day, you can see them being used in the building. I went into 3rd grade classroom, and the 3rd graders were coding. I mean, they were actually coding. To me, that was the most exciting thing I could see, 3rd graders
Yeah.
coding.
And in terms of a Chromebook cart, so, and again, I'll just explain it for the audience. A Chromebook cart is a large cart where we have Chromebooks. Chromebooks are an awful lot like a laptop, but they run Google Chrome. Kids have access to their G Drive, to Gmail, to everything that they need to do in order to compose and create. And it's a really nice opportunity for kids to have their own computer or technology right in front of them.
Right in the classroom. They're not moving. They can come down to the lab because it's here, but to have them in the classroom where they're in their own room, sitting at their own desks, working on a computer, a whole classroom full of them, that's a different experience. That's completely different, and it becomes part of their education, not a room you have to go to.
Right.
So that's what I like the best about the Chrome cards.
In terms of the building space, I know this is Rutland's newest building. It's about 10 years old now. It's a beautiful building. It looks an awful lot like a farm. It ties in nicely with the farming community here in Rutland. Do you want to talk a little bit about just the building and the learning spaces we have here?
Yeah, it's a beautiful building, and we do. We have the classroom itself, the pod buildings, but if you leave the building outside of the library, the gym, the different rooms that we have in here, you go outside, we have a nature trail, which was created by teachers, especially the Explorers Club that came out, headed by Mike Legg, who started the Start for Nature Trail.
Yeah.
And the teachers use that quite a bit
Yeah.
for writing. The 4th grade just bought an increment borer. So they will be going out with this increment borer to find out how old the trees are on our nature trail.
Wow.
We have quite a few little ponds that come up that the teachers take the classrooms out. If you take us outside of the building, it's a completely beautiful hands-on
Yeah.
experience, both in and out.
It really
if I
is.
had to say what's best about this building.
It's tied in nicely with the natural
Yeah,
settings.
yeah.
I know you're also working with a group here in Rutland to put on a greenhouse.
We are.
And how is that working out so far?
We're working hard. We are. We're fundraising.
Yeah.
We're trying to get some grants together. The group is excited.
Yes,
It's the
yeah.
Rutland Agricultural Commission that is working with us. We're doing some fundraising for that. Our hope was to have it in by September, but I think a year from this year, we will hopefully have our greenhouse. And what we're looking for in the greenhouse is that it becomes a classroom.
Right.
Not just a small space that you can go in and work. We want a whole classroom setup where a whole class can go in there. And I mean, next generation science standards are demanding that these kids get that hands-on experience.
Right.
But the Rutland Rutland Agricultural Commission wants to make sure that the children can smell the dirt, feel the dirt, and actually experience the dirt. That's the biggest key that they want the children to take with them.
Right. I mean, I think ultimately to have that type of experience as a child, you might be able to get it at home, you might be able to get it somewhere else, but actually have the hands-on experience, growing, watching it grow, planting, keeping track of it, it just, you can't measure that.
Yeah.
So, and that's something that you can't learn in a book
Yeah.
or go online and really try to understand. Is it all right if we take a look at a couple of learning spaces in the building?
That would be great.
Excellent.
That would be
Okay.
great.
We're up here in the library now, Karen. I know you have some great learning spaces here at Glenwood. You want to talk a little bit about this space and also your specialist space, art, music, and PE?
Well, the library is a very quiet place, as you can tell. It's very calm. We want children to come in and grab a book, just old-fashioned, sit down in a spot. There are lots of nooks and crannies, if you look around, where they can sit and just read with a book, or lay and read with a book. They don't even have to sit. We just want it to be a place where they embrace literature and enjoy the space around them.
Good.
That's all the library's for right now, and it's almost an old-fashioned concept you don't want to go away.
Right, right.
And then you transition to a gym, which is very loud. There's music playing all the time. Children are running around, burning off as much energy as possible. The unique part about Glenwood is every child has a special every day. So they might have gym twice in 1 week, they might have music twice in 1 week, but every day they have a special, which is unheard of, and it's important for the children. But the gym, music will be blaring, kids will be running, and there'll be smiles all around, unless they lose a game.
Lots of activity with Claudia and the PE classes.
Yeah, and you head down to the music room where they are drumming, doing the recorders, and that's a different kind of loudness and excitement where they are actually learning to read notes, singing songs, learning pitch. We have a part-time music teacher who's working on them with being able to, find their pitch and sing. It works really well. And then you go over to the art room where it's that hands-on activity where they are drawing, creating. A lot of math and science actually is being brought into the art room where they are drawing owls or using math to measure each square that they have to produce. It's become one where they're all working together with the regular ed classrooms.
That's great. So in terms of a day in the life of a Glenwood student, what might that look like?
Well, hopefully it's a day where they have a lot of hands-on experiences, but it begins with the pledge and then the Glenwood Pledge. And we recite it every morning, but we live by those words. I ask children to live by the Glenwood Pledge, so just reciting it is not enough. We live by those words. They'll all have a special every day, and then they'll go back to their classrooms. Some classrooms, share, some classrooms are self-contained, but they work on their reading and their math and all the standards that they need to have, but hopefully have that hands-on experience where they take their learning with them to another level.
What I find about Glenwood is that whenever I do come through the building, kids are just having a good time learning. So that's what's nice, and really having the opportunity, and we talked about it downstairs, having the chance to have hands-on learning experiences where kids get to manipulate and touch and feel. It makes a big difference. Yeah,
and part of that smile too, Darryl, that people forget is children are challenged. They really are challenged. There's that critical thinking skills. And you see the frustration at the beginning, but as time goes on, that smile comes in because they know they can do it. They know they're going to succeed. So teaching them that you can overcome anything that's hard for you, and I think that's a gift we give our kids here, and hopefully they get that experience every day, where something's hard, but you've done it. And I think that's what the smile I want to see.
It's all about challenging.
And
getting students to the point where they're feeling comfortable. Speaking of that, one of the things that happens here at Glenwood is you have students transitioning from Naquag, a K-2 elementary school, into 3rd grade, and then you have students who are leaving you from 5th grade going to Central Tree into 6th grade. How does that transition process work for students and for families?
And it's always a tough place to be. I'm a grandmother, I'm a mother, so I've been through all of this and I've watched the transition happening, and I know where they need to get to. We know that at some point they got to be at the high school, which is a difficult transition. So we've got these primary students who come in and they're little and they get into 3rd grade, and we nurture them but build that independence slowly, hoping that they'll get to the point where they can go to 4th grade. And then 5th grade, we start that middle school transition. We start preparing them, the homework, the scheduling, the behavior, just things that we know they're going to need from middle school, because that's one of the toughest transitions they'll face. So our goal is to bring them over from primary school and get them ready to go over to middle school, which is that tough place to be in the middle. But I think we do it well, and I know the teachers care, and that's always in the top of their mind. 5th grade teachers especially talk about the middle school and how we're getting them ready. And hopefully, we're doing our job well.
Well, and you have a nice connection with Principal Dixie Herbst over at
I do.
Naquag, and then
Yeah.
also Principal Todd Stewart over
Yeah.
at Central Tree. So, and I know the three of you get together to actually talk about what that transition looks like.
We
so.
do. And I know Dixie has, and it's more primary. It's that little
Yes,
school where they're really
yes.
cute. And here it's educational, academics, and Todd's going to take it to another level. And hopefully we'll continue that transition.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. In terms of spring activities that'll be going
Yeah.
on here at Glenwood, what are some of the new and exciting things that you'll be doing with the kids this year?
Yeah, spring is exciting time at Glenwood. We have the Invention Convention in the
Yes,
fifth grade.
yeah,
That's a huge
is,
thing,
yeah.
and that takes about 8 weeks from start to finish. And the things they create, I think they could patent some of them. They are so amazing, the inventions our students create. And then the fourth grade will be doing the independent investigation method, which is a segue
Yep.
to the fifth grade.
Yep.
And they'll come up with projects that they will present. And the third grade has their wax museum, which is a historical biography that they do.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's really
Yeah.
well done.
Yeah.
We have field trips galore coming up from Sturbridge Village right through the center of Rutland with the third grade. And of course, we have a concert, which is amazing, with Amanda Arsenault.
So you have a very busy spring
We
coming up.
do, we
Oh,
do.
Well, that's fantastic.
Thank
You know what?
you.
I just wanted to thank you very much for allowing us to come into your school today, and we appreciate you giving us this tour.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you. And now I'd like to go over back to central office, where we'll be sitting down with the new Deputy Superintendent of the Wachusett Regional School District, Bob Berlo. So I'm here at central office, and I'm with the new Deputy Superintendent, Bob Berlo. This is a great opportunity for me as the superintendent, because I've had a situation where I've been working not on my own, but I haven't had a deputy for the past 2 years now. I was a deputy prior to becoming the superintendent, and having Bob on board for the past month now has just been a great experience for all of us, and thank you very much for being here, Bob.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, that's great. So if you can tell us a little bit, Bob, about your own educational history and kind of why you got into teaching and education in the first place.
Sure, I'll be happy to do that. I was lucky enough to get my start in Gardner Public Schools, and I worked there for almost a little over 2 decades. And I started out as a chemistry teacher and a coach. I coached a variety of sports, including, oh my goodness, football, girls track, wrestling, indoor track, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
As we started to get into the mid-'80s, the late '80s, we started to introduce computers into teaching, and I was lucky enough to be one of those first teachers to have an opportunity to do that. And that led me into then becoming the tech director for Gardner Public Schools.
Great.
Yeah,
That's been nice.
Oh, that was nice.
Yeah, it was a very exciting time.
It was, because that was I guess the time where you went from having nothing to having something, and,
Right.
and that only happens really once. So I was very happy to be part of that.
Right.
From there, I moved on to the Quabbin Regional School District, and I was there. It was a time where we transitioned from through superintendents, and then I moved on to Hopkinton Public Schools, and that's where I've been most recently. I was the assistant superintendent down there, and that led me back here
Great.
to the Wachusett School District, and I'm happy to be back in Central Mass. I really am.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. So you've had a lot of experience in central Massachusetts, just in terms of your own
Yep.
time, working with kids, working with teachers and so forth.
Yeah, to me, that's what you asked me earlier. Why did I get into it, or a little bit about my that was really it. I started out as a biology major, and I got into, we were doing some medical research, that type of thing, and that wasn't really lighting my fire. I mean, it was interesting in terms of challenge you in the problems you were solving, what you were studying, but it wasn't really what I was passionate about. I saw an opportunity to teach chemistry in Gardner Public Schools for a year, and I said, well, I'll go do that. And here I am all these decades later, still in education. So that 1-year job turned into a career. And my wife's also an educator, and I think that's what really brought us both into that world, was doing something for kids, making a difference, working with other adults. That to me was very rewarding, and still is.
It's interesting you mentioned your wife. My wife's an educator, a professor at Worcester State, so I know that helps me as an educator, because we're both on the same page in terms of being there, working nonstop basically, because this is really a 24/7 job.
It really is, especially these days. It's different now than it was even just 10 years ago.
Right.
Teaching, being an administrator, being a district level administrator, it has changed quite a bit. There's a lot more accountability in schools, and I think that's important in roles that we're in, to be able to guide staff and support them, because it is very different. And
Yes.
it's not like the teachers that we have now and the administrators we have now, they can't look back and say, oh, this is how it was when I went through, and I'm just going to do the same sort
Right,
of things.
right.
It's very different now. So we're
Right.
having to reinvent a lot of that, and staff does need a lot of support. And I think that's important, and that's what I saw coming in and through the interviews, was the level of support that you offer, as well as staff being ready for that next step and asking for that support. So.
And I know that was something that we had talked about during interviews, and it was something our teachers union was very interested in, as well as our administrators, was really setting up a process through which we'll establish a really strong professional development program, strong curriculum mapping, consistent curriculum throughout the district.
Yep.
And we've talked about that. What are some of the things that you've been doing so far in the past 4.5 weeks, let's say?
To me, the biggest and most important initiative to do was to get into the schools, to start to know a little bit about how each school is organized, a little bit about what they're proud of, what's working well, where they're seeing where they want to grow, what they need for resources, and starting to pull all those pieces together. This is the largest district I've ever worked in, but it's not dissimilar to districts I've worked with in the past. A lot of the challenges are still there, a lot of what teachers need, what administrators need. So I've been doing a lot of that. I still have 2 buildings to go, so I'm getting closer. And some of that also is not just seeing the challenges in the physical structure and what they might need for resources, but also how are the students performing in each of the schools.
Right.
What's it look like this year and in the past few years? So I've dug into some of the MCAS scores, and we go in and we talk a little bit about, with the administrators, the principals primarily, what are your plans, what are you doing, what are your action steps, what's your school improvement plan looking like, and that's what I've been sort of doing a lot of, as well as some other things, some very interesting things as well, working just yesterday, in fact, with getting together with the teachers union to start to talk about where we're going to go with the evaluation system, starting to define that. Being involved in the Mayo School's principal search, that to me has been very rewarding. I love to work with other teachers, elbow to elbow, and other administrators, and do that thing. Who are we going to pick for our next leader? That's an important step for a community, and I'm very happy to be involved with that. As well as some of the other, we've had the opportunity to go around to 4 of the 5 towns, and I've been able to sit in on those budget meetings.
Yeah.
And for me, that's very important too, is to try to understand from the different communities, the people, their concerns, what they're looking for, what they want the schools to be, how that schools can better support them. So that's been very rewarding as well.
So what's nice, for your time, when you've actually started, is that you've had the opportunity to just jump right in, go to the select board and the FinCom meetings, where I actually do a budget presentation to the towns concerning our FY17 budget proposal. And you've been able to sit through 4 of those. And, thus far, the reception has been lukewarm to a certain extent, because it's an increase. And we understand that, but one of the things that we talk about is, we are the educators. We want to make sure that we're providing the best opportunities for kids possible. And we really feel as though it's a fair budget. And again, I've appreciated the fact that you've had the opportunity to just jump right in and be part of those meetings. I think that's been helpful.
Yes, that's one of the things I liked. I'm not somebody that likes to sit in an office. I'm more of, let's roll up our sleeves and get going.
Yep.
I've been very impressed, Darryll, as you touched on, with the communities. In some cases, we're asking for an increase, and it might be something that the community might see as, well, this is going to be a challenge to support that.
Right.
I've been very impressed with the questions that have been asked by the community representatives that have been there, how intelligent they are, how much they know about the nuances of the budget that's process and different accounts and what that could be used for. I've been very impressed with that since I've got here. So.
Well, it's amazing because we have, this is a large school district, as you said. We have over 7,000 kids, and I think the select board members, the FinCom members, other members of the community, the town managers, they're all very vested in the school district, and by those types of questions, where they're interested in knowing how much are you spending on this, and is there a way for you to maybe manipulate this so that it could go somewhere else? It's always good to get outside perspectives as well.
It very much is.
So
Yeah.
it's been very helpful.
Yeah.
So just in terms of the near future, are there some other items that you're going to be working on over the next few months?
That's a great question. I've been at a few school committee member meetings so far, I think 3 of them actually, and one of the things that we're working on now is to pull together our technology plan.
Right.
The community, I would say, my takeaway from those budget meetings and limited conversations I've had with community members, we were lucky enough to have the fire and police the other day that we
Right.
met with all the area fire and police, is around technology and where are we going to go and how's that better going to support our students and what their learning needs are. So we're pulling that plan together, and that's something that we're going to be sharing shortly to with the school committee, and then be looking for additional input once we finish our strategic planning and getting that together. That will also help to drive the tech plan. But that's something that's very exciting, is to sort of, it gets me back to what I worked on years ago, being the tech director and getting back in. What do we have in place? How's this working? What do teachers need for support, for training? If we take this next step, how can we roll it out to be effective, and all those types of things. So that's been fun, actually, doing some of that.
And it's interesting. You make a great point. As we've walked around several of the schools together, one thing that you've noted to me is that you see kids, but they don't have technology in their hands the way that you've seen in other districts. And one of the things that we've talked about, with the school committee, and the school committee has kind of wanted me to push forward a little bit more, was just looking at how we can better support technology, going 17 years into the 21st century. So
that's a great point you made, Darryll. Yeah, that's one of the largest disconnects I've seen in terms of how other places I've been are preparing students for their future and where we are here. To have 5, 6, 7 computers sitting in a single location that you have to march all the students to, that's not how it's used effectively to support education. It has to be in the kid's hand, in the moment, as the lesson's unfolding, they're using it, they're collecting information, they're composing their thoughts, they're sharing with their classmates. That's really where it needs to be. And that, you're right, we did have that conversation because I was surprised to see that there is that disconnect, that here's just a few machines and you can use them if they're available, and you have to come over to this spot to use them, and that's not how it works.
And it's interesting because when we talk about the budget, we talk about an increase in technology, and even an increase in technology, a nominal increase, will still put us in a situation where we're still trying to catch up, and we're not at places that other districts are in. So again, we're starting to purchase more Chrome carts. We're starting to get more mobile devices into kids' hands, but I don't think we're near a place where we really need to be. And I think that's what's so exciting about the completion of a strategic plan as well as a technology plan moving forward.
I agree completely with you on that one. Yeah,
Good.
absolutely.
Well, we greatly appreciate you being here, Bob, and taking some time to talk to me today. I know you're in the midst of doing some interviews today as well, so
yes, I am.
Good luck with that. And
thank you.
What I'd like to do is thank all of you today for joining me, and we hope to see you soon. Thanks so much.
Out.